Welcome back to our channel Rare Coins History, where we uncover the secrets, stories, and surprising values behind some of the most fascinating coins ever made. Today, we're diving deep into a small yet incredibly important piece of American coinage, the 1980 Roosevelt $1. At first glance, it might look like just another everyday coin you'd find in your spare change, but there's a whole lot more to it than meets the eye. By the time we finish, you'll never look at this little silver-colored coin the same way again. Let's take a step back in time to set the stage. The year is 1980, Ronald Reagan is campaigning for president, the United States is going through economic challenges, and inflation is a hot topic. The American Mint is busy producing billions of coins for circulation, and the Roosevelt dime is already a staple in pockets and cash registers across the country. Since replacing the Mercury dime in 1946, the Roosevelt design has remained largely unchanged, honoring the memory of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, and who was a champion of the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio. The 1980 dime may seem ordinary, but for coin collectors, it holds a unique place in modern U.S. minting history. It was struck at three major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, for the first time in decades, began adding the P mint mark to its coins in 1980, a small but significant change that makes this year's dime stand out to collectors. This marked a shift in how the mint identified its production and has made 1980 an important year in Roosevelt dime collecting. On the obverse side of the coin, you'll find the familiar left-facing portrait of President Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek. His sharp, determined gaze is complemented by the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," along with the mint year. The design is clean, modern, and timeless, a symbol of American resilience and leadership. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, a trio of symbols that speak volumes. The torch represents liberty, the olive branch stands for peace, and the oak branch symbolizes strength and independence. It's a simple yet powerful message, encapsulated in a coin that fits in the palm of your hand. Now, here's where things get interesting. While billions of these coins were made, not all of them are equal. Condition plays a huge role in a coin's value. Most 1980 Roosevelt dimes have been heavily circulated, showing wear and losing that sharp detail that collectors crave. But in uncirculated, pristine condition, often referred to as mint state, these coins can fetch far more than their face value. Coins graded at the highest levels, such as MS-67 or MS-68, are exceptionally rare for this year and command impressive prices in the marketplace. Then there are the error coins. Minting errors can happen when dies are misaligned, when blanks are struck off-center, when double images appear, or when incorrect planchets are used. In the case of the 1980 dime, certain rare errors, like full band strikes, missing mint marks, or unusual metal composition, are highly sought after. These kinds of anomalies can make a dime worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and condition. Collectors love the 1980 Roosevelt dime not only for its place in history but also for the thrill of the hunt. Finding one in near-perfect condition or with a unique error is like striking gold in the world of coin collecting. It's a reminder that treasures can be hiding in plain sight, even in your pocket change. So, if you ever come across a 1980 Roosevelt dime, don't just toss it aside or spend it without a second thought. Examine it carefully. Look for sharp details, check for errors, and see if it's been preserved in near-flawless condition. A dime may be small, but in the right circumstances, it can be a big deal. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value. In rare cases, a 1980 Roosevelt $1 in exceptional condition, especially with certain minting errors, has sold for an astonishing $45,000. Yes, you heard that right, $45,000 for a coin you might have once used to buy a stick of gum. So, take a closer look at your change, dig through those old coin jars, and who knows? You might just be holding a tiny piece of American history that's worth a fortune. Today, we're zooming in on a small but mighty piece of American currency, the 2008 United States Roosevelt $1. You might think it's just another dime you'd find jingling in your pocket, but the truth is, certain examples of this coin can be worth far more than you'd imagine. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why, and I promise, you'll never look at your change the same way again. Let's set the scene. The year is 2008, a year of major events in the United States. The economy is in turmoil as the financial crisis begins to unfold. Barack Obama is elected as the first African-American president, and Americans are watching history in the making. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint is quietly producing billions of coins for everyday transactions, including the Roosevelt dime, a coin with a design that has remained a constant for over 6 decades. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the man who led America through the Great Depression and World War II, and who played a huge role in establishing the March of Dimes, a campaign dedicated to fighting polio. Even in 2008, the design stayed true to John R. Sinek's original vision. On the obverse side, you'll find Roosevelt's dignified profile facing left, with the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," the year 2008, and the mint mark indicating where the coin was struck. Flip it over, and you'll see the reverse design, a torch at the center, flanked by an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right. These three symbols are powerful. The torch represents liberty, the olive branch stands for peace, and the oak branch symbolizes strength and independence. The phrase, E pluribus unum, arches across the bottom, meaning, out of many, one, a timeless motto that reflects America's unity. Now, the 2008 Roosevelt dime was struck at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins bear the P mint mark, Denver coins have the D, and San Francisco coins feature the S mint mark, which are proof coins intended for collectors rather than general circulation. Proof coins from San Francisco are known for their mirror-like fields and frosted designs, making them stand out as stunning examples of craftsmanship. But here's where things get interesting: not all 2008 Roosevelt dimes are created equal. The vast majority are worth exactly 10 cents, but certain conditions and unique features can elevate their value tremendously. Condition is the first factor. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, what collectors call mint state, is much more valuable than one that has been used in everyday commerce. Coins graded MS-67 or MS-68 by professional grading services are exceptionally rare for this year, and when they do appear, they can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The second factor is errors. Error coins are the result of mistakes during the minting process, and collectors absolutely love them. For the 2008 dime, there are known examples of off-center strikes, double dies, missing mint marks, and even instances where the coin was struck on an incorrect metal planchet. These rare anomalies transform an ordinary dime into a one-of-a-kind collectible. The rarer the error and the better the condition, the higher the price. Another aspect that adds intrigue to the 2008 Roosevelt dime is its modern rarity in top condition. Since most dimes from this year went straight into circulation, it's challenging to find one without scratches, nicks, or signs of wear. This makes high-grade examples much harder to come by, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for coins that look as though they just left the mint. So, what should you do if you find a 2008 dime that looks special? First, handle it carefully, preferably with gloves to avoid oils from your fingers causing damage. Next, check for errors or unusual features, and if you believe you have something rare, consider having it graded by a professional. A certified coin not only gives you proof of authenticity and condition but also increases buyer confidence if you decide to sell. Now for the part you've been waiting for: just how much could one of these be worth? In some rare cases, a 2008 Roosevelt 1 dime in immaculate, uncirculated condition, especially with a notable minting error, has sold for an incredible $33,000. That's right, $33,000 for a single dime. Imagine finding one of these in your change, in an old coin jar, or hidden away in a collection you've inherited. It's living proof that treasures can be hiding in the most ordinary of places. Today, we're going to explore a small yet powerful piece of American currency, the 1991 United States Roosevelt 1 dime. At first glance, it might seem like just another dime you'd find at the bottom of your pocket, but trust me, there's much more to it than meets the eye. By the time we're done, you'll never look at your change the same way again. Let's step back in time for a moment. The year is 1991, the United States is celebrating the end of the Cold War, George H. W. Bush is president, and the economy is transitioning from the booming 80s into a more uncertain decade. In the world of coinage, the U.S. Mint is producing billions of coins to keep up with the demands of commerce. Among these coins is the Roosevelt dime, a design that has been a familiar sight to Americans since 1946. The Roosevelt dime was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who led the country through some of its darkest years during the Great Depression and World War II. He was also a strong supporter of the March of Dimes campaign, which worked to combat polio. In tribute, the U.S. Mint introduced the dime with his profile in 1946, and remarkably, the design has remained largely unchanged for decades. On the obverse side of the 1991 Roosevelt dime, you'll see the left-facing portrait of President Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek. Above his head is the word liberty, while the phrase, "In God We Trust," rests along the left side. The mint year, 1991, is located to the lower right, accompanied by the mint mark, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco proof coins. The reverse of the coin is equally symbolic. At the center stands a torch, representing liberty. On one side, you'll find an olive branch, symbolizing peace, on the other, an oak branch, standing for strength and independence. The national motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, is boldly inscribed, emphasizing the unity of the United States. The 1991 dime was struck at 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The San Francisco Mint's proof coins were specially made for collectors and are known for their high-quality mirror-like finish and sharp details. These proof coins are not meant for everyday circulation, which is why they often survive in excellent condition. Philadelphia and Denver coins, however, went into general use, meaning most have seen years of wear and tear. So what makes certain 1991 Roosevelt dimes so valuable? First, condition is everything. Most circulated examples are worth only face value, but coins that have never been used, those in pristine, mint state, condition, can be worth significantly more. Grading services like PCGS and NGC rank these coins on a 70-point scale, and the higher the grade, the higher the value. Mint state coins graded MS 67 or higher are especially rare for this year. Then there's the world of error coins. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during production, and collectors love these unique mistakes. For the 1991 Roosevelt dime, some notable errors include double strikes, off-center strikes, missing mint marks, or being struck on the wrong type of metal planchet. These oddities are much rarer than standard coins and can command impressive prices. Another factor that adds intrigue to the 1991 dime is the modern coinage era itself. By the 1990s, coin production technology had improved, making mint errors less common. This means that when genuine errors do appear from this year, they are even more interesting to collectors. Combine that rarity with perfect condition, and you have a recipe for a highly sought-after collectible. If you suspect you have a special 1991 dime, here's what to do. First, handle it carefully, preferably by the edges and with gloves, to avoid adding fingerprints or scratches. Then, examine it closely under good lighting, using a magnifying glass to check for sharp details or unusual features. If it appears to be in flawless condition or has something unusual about it, consider having it graded by a professional coin grading service. A certified grade can make all the difference when it comes to selling to serious collectors. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for, the value. While most 1991 Roosevelt dimes will never be worth more than 10 cents, there are rare examples that stand out from the rest. In the right circumstances, flawless condition, high grade, and possibly an error, a single 1991 Roosevelt 1 dime has sold for an incredible $39,500. Yes, you heard that right, $39,500 for a coin you could easily mistake for pocket change. This is why checking your coins is so important. Treasures like this are often hiding in plain sight. So the next time you get change at the store or dig through an old coin jar, keep an eye out for that 1991 dime. It might just be the tiny piece of history that changes your life. Today, we're shining the spotlight on a coin that many people overlook every single day, the 1985 United States Roosevelt 1 dime. At first glance, it's just a tiny piece of change worth 10 cents, but in certain cases, this coin can be worth far, far more than you'd imagine. By the time you finish watching, you'll know exactly why collectors hunt for this specific dime and what could make yours worth a fortune. Let's set the stage with a little history. The year is 1985, Ronald Reagan is serving his second term as President of the United States, the economy is rebounding from early 80s struggles, and pop culture is exploding with music, movies, and fashion trends we still remember today. While all this is happening, the US Mint is hard at work, producing billions of coins to keep America's economy moving, including the enduring Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime has been a fixture of U.S. coinage since 1946, introduced to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his passing. Roosevelt wasn't just a beloved leader who guided America through the Great Depression and World War II, he also inspired the March of Dimes, a campaign to combat polio. This connection made the dime a fitting tribute to his legacy. On the obverse side of the 1985 Roosevelt dime, you'll find the left-facing portrait of President Roosevelt designed by John R. Sinek. It's a design that has stood the test of time, with sharp details in his hair, facial features, and inscriptions. Along the left side, you'll see the word liberty, while the phrase, "In God We Trust," rests just below. The year 1985 is placed to the lower right, alongside the mint mark that tells you where the coin was made, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. Proof coins. Turn the coin over, and you'll see the reverse design that has remained unchanged for decades, a central torch representing liberty, flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength and independence. The motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, sits proudly beneath, reflecting the unity of the United States. Now, here's where things get interesting for coin collectors. In 1985, the Roosevelt dime was produced in massive numbers. Philadelphia and Denver struck hundreds of millions of them for circulation, while San Francisco produced smaller quantities of proof coins for collectors. With so many made, you might wonder, how could one possibly be valuable? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and errors. First, let's talk condition. A dime fresh from the mint with no signs of wear is considered mint state. These coins are graded on a 70-point scale by professional grading services, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. For the 1985 dime, coins in mint state 67 or 68 are extremely hard to find. Why? Because most coins from this year went straight into circulation, picking up scratches, nicks, and wear from everyday use. Finding one that has survived in pristine condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. Next, we have error coins, and this is where the excitement really kicks in. Minting errors can turn an ordinary coin into a rare collectible. For the 1985 dime, certain errors have been documented, such as off-center strikes, double dies, missing mint marks, or being struck on the wrong planchet entirely. These rare mistakes are highly sought after because they make each coin unique. Even small differences can drive up a coin's value dramatically if it's an error that collectors haven't seen often. There's also something fascinating about proof coins from 1985. San Francisco's proof dimes are specially made with extra care, struck multiple times for sharp details and a mirror-like finish. Most proof coins stay in collections, but on rare occasions, they find their way into circulation, where an unaware person might spend them at face value. If you ever find a proof 1985 dime in your change, it's worth setting aside. So, what should you do if you think you have a special 1985 dime? First, handle it carefully, ideally by the edges and with gloves, to prevent adding any damage. Examine it closely under good lighting, and use a magnifying glass to spot fine details or possible errors. Look at the mint mark, check the sharpness of the design, and see if the surface has that fresh, uncirculated luster. If you suspect it might be rare or in outstanding condition, consider having it graded and authenticated by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Now comes the part you've been waiting for, the value. While the vast majority of 1985 Roosevelt dimes will only ever be worth 10 cents, there are rare cases where a flawless, high-grade example or a unique error coin from this year has sold for an astounding $40,800. Yes, you heard that right, $40,800 for a coin small enough to fit on your fingertip. That's why coin collecting is such an exciting hobby. Hidden treasures can be anywhere, even in your pocket change. So next time you get coins back from the store, don't rush to spend them. Take a moment to look closely. You might just be holding a piece of American history worth more than you ever imagined. Today, we're focusing on a small yet powerful piece of American currency, the 1981 United States Roosevelt $1. At first glance, it might seem like just another coin you'd get in your change, but this particular year of the Roosevelt dime has some fascinating details that make certain examples extremely valuable to collectors. By the time we're done, you'll understand why this little 10-cent coin can sometimes be worth a life-changing amount of money. Let's start by going back to 1981. Ronald Reagan had just been inaugurated as president, the Space Shuttle Columbia made its very first flight, MTV was changing the music world forever, and the United States Mint was busy striking millions of coins to keep the nation's economy moving. Among them was the Roosevelt dime, a coin design that had already been in circulation for 35 years and was still going strong. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away the previous year. Roosevelt was a remarkable leader, guiding the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, and he was also deeply connected to the March of Dimes campaign, which worked to eliminate polio. Because of that connection, the dime became the perfect coin to bear his image. On the obverse side of the 1981 Roosevelt dime, you'll see the familiar left-facing portrait of Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek. Above his head is the word Liberty, while the phrase, "In God We Trust," sits prominently along the left side. Just below his neck, you'll find the initials, JS, a nod to the designer. The year 1981 is displayed to the right of the portrait, and just above it is the mint mark indicating where the coin was struck, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco. Turn the coin over, and you'll be greeted by a timeless reverse design. At the center is a torch symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left representing peace, and an oak branch on the right representing strength and independence. The phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, stretches across the bottom, emphasizing America's unity. Now, the 1981 Roosevelt dime was struck at all three major U.S. mints. Philadelphia and Denver produced coins for everyday circulation, while San Francisco made proof coins intended for collectors. Proof coins are struck with specially polished dies, giving them a mirror-like shine and extra sharp details. But here's where things start to get interesting. In 1981, the San Francisco Mint produced two distinct varieties of proof dimes, Type 1 and Type 2. The difference lies in the S mint mark. On Type 1 proofs, the S is more filled and less sharp, while on Type 2 proofs, the S is clear and well-defined. Type 2 proofs were made later in the year and are much scarcer. For collectors, this makes the 1981 S Type 2 proof dime a particularly desirable coin, especially in perfect condition. Condition is one of the biggest factors in determining a coin's value. Most 1981 Roosevelt dimes that were used in circulation are worth only face value because they've been handled, scratched, and worn over time. But coins that were never spent, those that remain in pristine, mint state, condition, are far more valuable. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC assign these coins grades on a scale of 1 to 70, and coins graded MS 67 or higher are exceptionally rare for this year. Then we have the error coins, and these are a collector's dream. Minting errors can happen for a variety of reasons, and for the 1981 dime, known errors include off-center strikes, double dies where parts of the design are doubled, missing mint marks, and coins struck on the wrong metal planchet. These unusual coins are one-of-a-kind finds, and because of their uniqueness, they often sell for much higher prices than regular dimes. Another fascinating detail about the 1981 dime is that it was struck just before a major change at the U.S. Mint. The following year, in 1982, the Philadelphia Mint began adding the P mint mark to its coins, something it had never done before for circulating dimes. That means the 1981 Philadelphia dime is one of the last without the P mint mark, a fact that adds a touch of historical interest for collectors. So, what should you do if you come across a 1981 Roosevelt dime that looks promising? First, handle it carefully by the edges to avoid damaging it. Look closely at the mint mark and details to determine if it's a proof, and if so, check whether it's the rarer Type II variety. Examine the coin under good lighting for any minting errors or signs of exceptional preservation. If it seems to be in outstanding condition, consider having it professionally graded. This can dramatically increase its market value and make it more attractive to serious buyers. Now for the part you've been waiting for, the value. While most 1981 Roosevelt dimes are only worth 10 cents, rare examples in flawless condition or with significant minting errors have sold for an incredible $43,200. Yes, you heard that right, $43,200 for a coin you might have overlooked in your change. That's why checking your coins is so important. Treasures can be hiding right in plain sight. So next time you get a handful of change or go through an old coin jar, keep your eyes peeled for the 1981 Roosevelt dime. Who knows? You might be holding a little piece of American history that could put a big smile on your face and a lot of money in your pocket. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of a small but mighty coin, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next rare coin discovery. Until then, happy hunting and happy collecting.